Chapter 8, Vibration. There are many who die but never go to the other side at all. There is the other side, and there is this side of the river of life. The river of life is the point of egress or demarcation into the higher realms. Those who are sin-bound and clothed in darkness are unable to cross that sacred river. They remain here, close to earth, continually adding their evil and darkness to the already overburdened world. They inhabit the low places of inequity, feeding on the evils and lust of degenerate humanity. With all the despair of their own failures upon them, and with the persuasiveness of their lust burning and alive, they encourage mankind to sin, even as they sinned and still desire to sin. Their own lusts are gratified in the transgressions of man. They even try to force others into their own degree of degeneracy, if there are any who will give in to their subtle suggestions. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6:12. Those who have maintained any degree of their natural goodness cross that great river of life and are placed in the realms of progress where they can be taught and reconditioned. Most of those are average mortal standards, have as much unlearning to do as they have learning to acquire. Everyone who has been overcome by the sins of the flesh and consequently death has much to learn and much to unlearn, no matter who he is or what laurels he may wear. Those who die are the ones who die in their sins. They are the ones who did not overcome while in the flesh. It is in the flesh that the greatest opportunity of all existence is held. It is in the flesh, which is a divine crucible of God, that all evils can be most readily and permanently conquered. It is in the flesh that man stands upon the front lines of the great battle between the forces of light and darkness. Every victory a man achieves in this life is for the benefit of all. And with each and every victorious degree of overcoming are eternal rewards and unspeakable glories. No man's temptations are just his own. His temptations are also the temptations of all who have ever yielded to them or have been overcome by them. His victories are a triumph, release for all who have passed on through that portal of death, though the great reward is to him who does the overcoming. He who overcomes becomes a co-heir with Christ, for this is the gift he left for the world, the strength of his own overcoming. This knowledge could be greatly enlarged upon, but there is neither time nor space in this record to do so. This life is a time and place to overcome. Many who thought themselves to be perfect have the most difficult time of all in becoming readjusted and straightened out. Their sins may have been more of omission than of commission. They may not have broken any of the great laws, yet failed completely in fulfilling even the highest ones. They may never have felt compassion, radiated understanding love, or been able to forgive any man a single error or mistake. They may have closed their eyes to the needs and wants of their fellow man. Hate, fanaticism, self-righteousness, and every evil, selfish trait weave themselves into the very fiber of the soul and are most difficult to remove. All physical traits and weaknesses accumulated in earth life remain with each egressing soul. However, even an intention or desire to be or to do good makes progress a speedier, more enjoyable process. Death is the way of correction, as stated in the book preceding this one, Temple of God. It is a slow process of reformation that must take place gradually, as each individual is willing, able to bear higher teaching and greater light. Each man is his own gauge, even as he is on earth. His free agency is always a deciding factor. Those who die as martyrs, or those who give their lives in sacrifice, as most of the soldiers have, are usually prepared to transcend many grades and degrees of ordinary, slower steps of advancement. Those who take their own lives have been completely overcome by the powers of darkness, and their position is quite tragic. It is most difficult for them to ever advance beyond their own point of highest thought patterns which they held during their earth lives. There is no one waiting at the gates of death to herd the individuals into some certain realm, some places of confinement, or to lift them up into glory, as so many anticipate. It is entirely a condition of free agency and preparedness. Each seeks his own level automatically. Those who are completely sin-bound and arrayed in darkness egress into their own level and degree of merit. They step into the exact condition and vibration they leave behind, or rather, it would be more exact to state, that they take their vibrations with them. They are unable to behold the light or to discern in any measure the highest realms each seeks, even more readily than on the physical plane, his own kind and his own level. Every selfish, evil trait of humanity carries its own vibration, which is plainly discernible in the spirit realm as color. Each individual carries an aura of color vibrations around him. These colors and vibrations are not discernible to the average mortal because man's physical eyes have not been conditioned to behold them as yet. There are sound vibrations that a human ear cannot catch. There is the whistle used to call dogs that no human ear can hear. So are there color vibrations that do not register on mortal eyes. Every trait, be it good or evil, is registered as a color vibration in the aura of the individual, and is plainly visible to those who are conditioned to see. Every evil trait is apparent. Selfishness, pride, dishonesty, jealousy, hate, and unjustness are plainly manifest. Those who have expressed nothing but their greed and lust are completely clothed in darkness. Many are arrayed in vibrations of both light and dark, which, until clarified, only make a dingy, neutral, rather abstract indefiniteness, as they merge without character or power. These are the ones mentioned in Revelations, the ones who, because they are neither hot nor cold, are very undesirable. They are not completely clothed in darkness, but the light they carry is defiled to the point of being unpleasant. And all who enter that gate of death carry some darkness and defilement with them. Christ is the only one who traveled the road of death, carrying no darkness whatsoever with him. He was completely arrayed in all the glorious vibrations of triumph and overcoming. Death had no claim upon him, nor has it any claim upon those who overcome. Christ went beneath all things, that he might rise above all things. And this does not mean that he went down into transgression and sin. Blameless and purified, he went down into death, entering the realms which are beneath all things, that he could open the doors of darkness and release the prisoners. See 1 Peter 4:6. For Christ also hath suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometimes were disobedient, when once the long-suffering of God waited in the days of Noah. 1 Peter 3:18-20. The prison spoken of was the confining, vibrating darkness which each individual had taken with him, and which had literally imprisoned and enslaved him. Christ, by his divine overcoming of sin, had the power to release the transgressors from their own vibration, permitting them to view the light. And every individual who overcomes thus assists all who are wrapped in the darkness of the commissions and their omissions. Christ had overcome all things and did not need to die, but in order to help redeem a world and those who had lived upon it prior to his advent, it was his desire to lay down his life for their redemption. But none, either before or since his time, have ever traveled that road of death without carrying with them the vibrations of their earthly errors, mistakes, and weaknesses. Those who have overcome those things, while in the flesh, do not die. Death has no claim upon them. As human beings step through the portal of death, they leave nothing behind but their physical bodies and their worldly possession. Every trait, every desire, every failing, weakness, and thought vibration goes with them. Death changes no one. It exalts no one. It releases no man from himself or from what he really is. If one's evil predominates over his good, then the dark vibrations defile the vibrations and colors of light until he is clothed in darkness. If his good predominates, the light vibrations can help to efface the tragic, ugly darkness of the evil vibrations to a great degree. It is possible that one may have overcome most of life's evil and has carried across with him only a few of his mortal frailties, which humanity takes for granted. Nevertheless, it was these very frailties and weaknesses that held him to the path of death and caused him to enter it. The little insipid vibrations of mere mortal existence discolor the glorious spiritual vibrations to a certain degree, no matter how mild they are. Each person stands forth a revealed, complete record of all that he has been or ever desired to be. There is no mistake, no misjudging, nor is there any condemnation. The love of God is still reaching out to reclaim and glorify all who are willing. Those who are completely defiled take ages and eons longer to redeem or to release from the darkness, and that is all. And for worlds without end, they can never catch up with those who overcame in this life. Next in glory and beauty, those who overcome are those who love so greatly they willingly lay down their lives for their friends. This love is the Christ love. It holds the power to release his light so that the individual is hailed into higher realms and can be speedily prepared for the highest glory. He who thus lays down his life because of his great love is next in power and status to him who overcomes. Overcoming is the highest. Following him who gives his life because of the Christ love is the sacrificing and war of one's life to an ideal of truth, freedom to benefit the world. Those who hold the ideal of peace and freedom in their hearts, who are not fighting just for the sake of victory or to kill an enemy, are prepared for the next great advancement. He who overcomes in this life is first, and he need never die. He who lays down his life for a friend releases the Christ love within himself, and so steps into higher realms. He who is sacrificed for the great ideal of peace for the world is a third in preparedness, and will be on the road of advancement. Now returning to mortality and its sin, immortality, in any degree, is one of the most corroding, retarding evils. It defiles more than any other transgression except murder. It arrays one in the lowest of the animal vibrations. It is manifest as a dull, sickening vibration of an ugly, dark, depressing hue that holds the individual completely earthbound, unless there are many good traits to offset and balance in some measure. However, this is seldom the case, for the individual's good is usually destroyed very speedily by the animal vibrations of his evil, which he releases within himself until they take over. As sex desires are mastered and controlled, one steps into a higher vibration and receives the color of rain, light of majesty, though he may not realize it. This glorified ray of exquisite light is the first mark of evolving divinity. No victory over the flesh is ever achieved that goes unrewarded. No struggle is ever made that is not apparent. No victory is ever won without it being heralded by the individual receiving a vibration of light to signify that overcoming. And within each living ray of light is contained power to advance and to intensify each flame of glory. This record goes beneath all things in order that it might assist man to comprehend all things, that he might rise above all things. Many of the human weaknesses have been listed here so that the reality of vibrations may be understood, and the path of overcoming be plainly manifest, that all men might be left without excuse. Uncontrolled tempers are only uncontrolled thoughts and emotions in full expression. Uncontrolled tempers are the violence of untempered individuals, giving way to every evil vibration that touches them. By their very lack of control, they use the strength of the divine energy to foster every evil, disintegrating vibration of violence in existence. Every evil carries its own dismal, depressing color and its own disintegrating vibrations. And for every evil trait, there is not only a definite color and tone, but a power that is destructively negative. Each person is literally clothed in the color vibration of his own thought process, as they have been and become the accepted pattern of his life. The thought actions have contained the seeds of all the manifest conditions of his mortal existence. These vibrations go across with him into eternity. Thus he is clothed in darkness, or he is clothed in light, or any of the shades of dinginess in between, according to his own choice and free agency. As unbelief carries with it a veil of darkness, so does the power to believe carry with it a clear, penetrating blue ray of unspeakable glory. This blue ray is known as the Christ ray. It is not the complete Christ light, but one of its rays, the most potent one. This Christ ray is the ray of belief as it is developed into faith. As the divine light of Christ is expanded and enlarged, the blue ray completes and fulfills the ineffable power to actually know. It is in the developing of this ray that God can be revealed and Christ become known. The blue ray is the most revealing, penetrating, healing ray in all existence. This blue Christ ray reveals and unfolds knowledge and truth so the individual can comprehend all things. It dispels ignorance and reveals clearly the exalted path of overcoming, and it is along this blue ray, as it is sent out to the very throne of God, that revelation is received. The blue ray is the ray of faith that becomes knowledge. It is the Christ ray of truth and healing and unspeakable power. It is known as the faith ray, for it is the highest of the Christ rays. Beyond the white raiment is the vibrating glory of each individual's own developed traits of triumph and overcoming as he leaves the darkness behind. Every virtue has its own color and place as it vibrates out in a glory of living light of throbbing, living emanations. Love, peace, joy, gratitude, compassion, honesty, virtue, brotherly kindness, truth, and self-control each have their own glorifying, vibrating, living color. And these rays become an actual eternal part of the individual who develops and wears them. Within each ray the color and vibration are added power and glory, and they are man's to use. As one stands strong and firm against temptation, facing his life with courage as he seeks to overcome, the vibration of living, liquid gold, the golden ray of overcoming becomes a divine reality. This ray is brought forth through praise and has power to dissolve the darkness. This golden ray is also one of the three potent Christ rays. If one will but take his setbacks, his losses, his worries, and failures and despair, and transmute them into light by accepting them, then praising and glorifying God for them, he can transform them into power and strength and infinite honor and perfection. As man uses this golden ray of praise, he releases the all-fulfilling vibrations and achieves a glory that is impossible to describe. This golden ray is the ray of transmutation, whether it be conditions, things, or man's own self. It is impossible to express these higher color vibrations of pure spirit in words simply because there are no words in any physical language to contain or portray them. They cannot possibly be described to those who are still on the mortal plane of existence. On the earth plane, the few colors that do come through, excepting of course the sun's direct rays, are dead and lifeless. They are powerless and impotent unless they are like the infrared, violet ray and the few others which science has partially and artificially produced. But even then, man cannot look upon these artificially produced rays with his naked eye. The lights and rays which are apparent to man's physical eyes are manifesting only a dead world. On the higher planes of advancement, the color vibrations are alive and eternal. With the essence of life's force flowing out from them in everlasting power, they are entirely spiritual and are much more alive than the tangible neon lights of the present day, which are dreary and dead in comparison. The transmuting ray just mentioned is also a ray of translation. This ray of overcoming must be comprehended and perfected in order for one to achieve the final victory of exalting his physical being into the higher spiritual vibrations of life eternal. In order for you to begin to comprehend the glory I am trying to share with you, I ask that you draw upon your imagination and to use your God-given gift to believe, for the power of words is completely inadequate. The glory vibrating from him who overcomes is beyond all words and all languages. Only by man's ability to believe, which is a soul-exalting ability to feel rather than to see, can one begin to comprehend the truth. As you begin to reach with your mind and imagination, using that awakened power to believe, you will begin your ascent into the realms of light. The ability to believe, remember, is the blue Christ ray, being accepted, developed, and put into use. It is the revealing ray that holds not but unfolding wonders in its penetrating, vibrating glory of unutterable power. In the blue penetrating ray of knowledge is a gift of inspiration and revelation open to man. When that blue Christ ray of belief is developed and expanded, it is rayed forth direct to the throne of God, and along that ray revelation and knowledge is poured back to the individual. It becomes an open window into heaven through which blessings are poured back to him who released it. Thus every developed ray becomes a channel of light, glory, and power. Revelation is the ability to know and comprehend great truth even before they become apparent or before they have been proved. Come with me and let the light of Christ shine forth from within you. Come and use the great blue ray of his power. Yea, come and doubt not. Doubts contain nothing but the defiling opposite of the glorious revealing ray. Doubts contain the key and powers of eternal darkness which they foster on man. By developing the power to believe, the blue Christ ray is touched and faith becomes established. Faith promises all things and it fulfills all things. As faith fulfills all things, it brings forth the complete knowledge, or the power to know fully. That is the power to actually know God. However, before knowledge can come, there must be the ability to believe. In the power to believe is the gift of faith held. Belief and faith are the unfolding ovum, or egg, in which the seed of knowing matures. No one can possibly know God or know the great spiritual issues unless he has developed the power to believe. As belief is warmed and nurtured, it develops faith, and faith becomes knowledge. Knowledge is the point where the blue Christ ray is established in its all-fulfilling power. Any who begin to live the laws of Christ gave will release the blue Christ ray into their lives and will pass beyond belief into the power of faith. Faith, as it matures, develops and transcends beyond the stage of feeling and becomes knowing, and to know is to be able to do. Hence, knowledge is power. In this are all promises fulfilled. Follow faith, or the blue Christ ray, through into the complete expanding glory of its power, and the point of knowing will be open unto you, and with it will be given the power to receive the fulfilling of every promise ever given. Now to digress for a moment. Have you ever shaken hands with someone and felt an involuntary shudder go over you, followed by an intense desire to wash your hands thoroughly? This may happen even though the individual with whom you shook hands just emerged from a bath, so it is not a physical uncleanliness which you desire to escape. Then again, have you been in the presence of those who seem to hold your respect and almost awed reverence without you comprehending why? If you have experienced any of these things, you have been touched by the vibrations emanating from others and must of necessity believe in the reality of these vibrations or deny your own intelligence. Begin to use these powers of perception within yourself and develop them into faith, and you will soon know why. The vibrations of light are the banners of glory flowing out from those who have achieved victories. These vibrations are the divine, eternal reality of spiritual existence. The moment an individual catches a vision of the great issues involved and begins to use his divine gift of free agency in choosing his road, from that moment he has stepped upon the path that leads upward, if he has chosen rightly. Or if he does not fully comprehend the issues involved, but desires only to do the best he can, seeking to overcome his own inherent evils, he steps automatically into the path Christ indicated. But it is only as one completely comprehends the issues involved that he can fulfill all things in the great triumphant glory of complete overcoming. Hence these books have been written, for the time is at hand. As one fulfills the higher laws, the vibration of light become an established part of his being. Before long, his very presence will have power to dispel the darkness around him, for he will be clothed in light. And that light is the living, vibrating essence of spiritual potency. As that light becomes completely established, one is not only clothed in light, he actually becomes a light. Every divine law fulfilled brings its own reward of glory and power. Every vibrating ray of glorified color is like a flaming sword, cutting away the mist and veils of darkness as it reaches up to the very throne of God. Thus, as love is developed, hate, which is its opposite, is overcome and banished forever. As the power to believe is developed, the dark enfolding veil of unbelief is rent, and the blue Christ ray of faith and knowledge begins its upward reach of fulfilling glory. As peace is brought forth within one's soul, confusion, which its consequent errors and evils is destroyed. In the gift of peace is contained the power of perfect manifestation in all things. Within the gift of peace is contained the divine fountain or pool of spirit, which must become perfectly still in order that one's thoughts and desires may be reflected through to the spirit realm without any degree of distortion. With that liquid gold pool of spirit completely stilled, through the gift of inner peace, the powers of creation are purified and perfected within the individual. This great peace is only achieved by learning to be still and know that I am God. As one begins to comprehend the power of the light of Christ, which is given to abide right within himself, he will desire that light more than he will desire anything else in existence. Hence he will desire only God's will to be done. God's will is that his light be accepted and brought forth within each individual for his own everlasting eternal glory and ineffable exalted powers of Godhood. Thus only in the divine will of God is contained each man's happiness, glory, joy, and perfection. It is by and through the powers of the light of Christ that all the keys of progress and development are released, even the complete powers of redemption and of overcoming. As the Christ light is developed, belief grows into faith, even as an infant grows into childhood. And faith grows into knowing, and knowledge as naturally as a child grows into youth. Knowledge grows into power even as the youth begins to express manhood and stands forth to take his rightful place among men. As one grows into this status of maturity, reaches this point of spiritual progress, he is ready to step forth from mortality into immortality. He who thus overcomes steps across time and eternity to enter the highest realm of celestial glory without the dragging, painful process of unlearning and learning being involved. He reaches the highest by accepting the light of becoming one with it. As he learns to walk with God in mortality, he will have the power to overcome death, and stepping through the veils of both the darkness and the light, walk with God, or literally abide with him forever. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. Death is the last enemy to be overcome. When pride, hate, lust, fear, and all darkness and evils are conquered by glorifying and bringing forth the great Christ's light, death is banished. Christ revealed the laws of the higher kingdom and the powers of overcoming death in these words. He who will live the laws will know. Few have believed in his teachings fully, so few have really believed in him. Millions have professed their belief in words, yet none have proved that belief in deeds. Few have ever been willing to conform their lives to the standards he gave, nor have they been willing to travel the path he indicated. Live his laws, and you will know. Live his laws, and you will become like him, for you will be purified, even as he is pure. No one can even feebly attempt to travel his path without being benefited. No one can literally travel it without being glorified. And he who begins to travel that path in determined gratitude for having found it will have the power to fulfill all things as the evils drop away and all promises become living realities of eternal, exalted, unutterable power. His road is for all humanity. None are excluded except those who exclude themselves. His realm is the realm of such unspeakable glory and power it could compare only to the most intense, glorious moments of happiness possible to experience in life, magnified and increased a millionfold without ending. For it is that complete essence of exquisite joy established forever. Progress is eternal, stagnation is death. He who is satisfied with himself and with his earthly surrounding and mediocre conditions has ceased to progress. And where there is no progress, death must ensue. Many are not satisfied with their dissatisfaction is only expressed by giving vent to the negative impulses and violent dislikes as they spew out their wrath and anger, disintegrating, fault-finding vibrations of blatant discord. There are no constructive, helpful, healing vibrations or thoughts used as such. Only the disintegrating forces of their own violence are released to add to the already overburdened confusion. Those who are dissatisfied and use that dissatisfaction to find methods of remedy, or who reach up to God for answers, will be shown ways to help right the wrongs and purify the conditions. Each shade and hue of color brought forth through overcoming is added power released in vibrating energy. The rose-colored glasses spoken of by the poets are an actual reality. One beholds all conditions, all things, through a ray of rose-colored glory when he develops the gift of gratitude, which becomes a song of praising ecstasy and triumphant overcoming as it increases with use. This glorious rose-colored ray has the power to transmute the hideous, dingy, brownish-red color of self-pity into its most exquisite spiritual banner of victorious overcoming as one becomes thankful in all things. This rose-colored hue of living can transform the evils of existence unto multiplied blessings. This rose-colored ray is the ray of increase and spiritual multiplication. This divine ray is one of the three Christ rays and is most real. It is powerful beyond expression. As it is developed and intensified, it becomes a living flame that can enlarge and glorify all conditions and things. It is the vibration released from the cross of Christ who transformed the ugly aspect of the most disgraceful, ignominious experience and existence into unutterable glory and infinite eternal power. This rose-colored ray or vibration is developed through the gift of gratitude. As joy and gratitude are developed, self-pity and the power of lack and failure are transmuted into unspeakable beauty, and those who enter into this vibration truly become glorious. He who is thankful in all things shall be made glorious, and the things of this earth shall be added unto him 100-fold, yea more. The ray or color of gratitude is not exactly rose, it is only registered as rose-colored on physical eyes. When mortal beings have been lifted for a brief time into its unfolding glory, it is a deeper, more intense, more vivid ray than rose. It is also one of the three Christ rays, which are so divinely potent and infinitely powerful and are contained within his light. The three Christ rays emanate through the great Christ light. The rose-colored or ruby-red ray has the power to make one glorious. It is this ruby-red ray that holds the power of multiplying all blessings, for it is released through gratitude. Praise and willingness to let God's will be done releases the golden ray of overcoming and purification. Belief and faith releases the divine Christ ray of penetrating blue. This ray holds the keys of revelation and knowledge, plus the powers of healing and the fulfilling of all one can believe. These three Christ rays contain all power and the perfection of complete fulfillment. Within these three heavenly living rays or vibrations are contained all the relative colors of the spectrum, beyond which is the great Christ light of concentrated life. As one contacts and brings forth the Christ light, all the vibrating, glorified rays of life eternal become living powers. Every ray of the spectrum, every hue of the rainbow is contained within the three major Christ rays. Each ray is a symbol and a living banner of some virtue, and as they are developed and extended out from the individual, they become the avenues along which all blessings flow to him from the very throne of God. All the fulfilled and complete rays of the spectrum, which are the flowing banners of power and of overcoming, are contained in the great white light of Christ, which is contained right within man. It is utterly impossible to express this knowledge in any clear form at the present time, but it must begin to be comprehended that these three divine definite rays of infinite power and their related hues might begin to be expressed and brought forth to the point of complete fulfilling power. Thus within the light of Christ is contained all virtues and all power. Only those who reject his light, because of ignorance or deliberate disbelief, have remained destitute of the greater gifts. In the pure white light of Christ is contained the three major rays of all power and all glory, with their related hues of vibrating virtue and ineffable power. Because of ignorance, wickedness, slothfulness, and dulled, stupefied acceptance of evil, the light of Christ has been rejected, and its blessing and power have remained unknown. Because of man's rejection of the divine Christ light, the whole world has remained under condemnation and unredeemed as it continued in its gross darkness. Awake, put on thy shining garments, O captive daughters of Zion. All the reality and the powers of the laws Christ developed and used, he left behind for man to use also. They are all contained within the great Christ light, implanted as a seed within the soul of man, waiting to be accepted and brought forth. As the three Christ rays are rayed forth from within the individual, all the other harmonious color vibrations of perfection and beauty will automatically be developed and will release their vibrating celestial powers of perfection. Truly, nothing is impossible, and all possible things are the result of the vibrations which unfold them as they are quickened and made alive in vibrating action. It is the power of Christ which makes alive all things, releases all vibrations of light and glory in living power, transforming their opposite negative dark counterpoles of evil into infinite light. Christ's power and light has the efficacy to completely spiritualize and redeem the dark negative forces, and transmute or transform them into infinite effulgence and unending dynamic eternal force. Man stands at the very center of these colors and glorious vibration rays of living light and power, and their opposite hues of disintegrating evil, until he uses his free agency to follow his own inclinations for either good or evil. Within man is the ability to balance these colors, to overcome all the forces and powers of darkness. It is for each man to say which he will choose, and each man actually becomes these vibrations, which he elects at his choice. If he elects the higher, he becomes elect. He only is elect who chooses to follow the light and who loves God with all his entire being. He who rejects the Christ light degenerates into the darkness. All the dark vibrations and their consequent evils can be transformed into vibrations of power and divine light as they are touched and enfolded in the expanding Christ light. And for every dark, dingy, repellent color and vibration of evil, there is its glorified, spiritualized counterpole of reality contained within his light. Humility is a flaming banner of brilliant, dynamic power that is exquisitely beautiful. Pride in its every aspect are the complete opposite, both in color and vibration. Pride is one of the most difficult of all evils to detect on the physical plane, though it is one of the most retarding. Included in pride is self-righteousness, self-seeking, the habit of falsifying and exaggerating, along with most dishonest procedures. Pride is bereft of real love and of all the brotherly kindness it wishes to be loved but cannot bestow it. Love carries its own vibration of breathtaking beauty which intermingles and blends with all others, enhancing, intensifying, and glorifying them into greater beauty and power. When love is perfected, the darkness and fears are overcome, and the corresponding virtues are brought forth. When this divine love is developed until one fulfills the first and greatest of all commandments and loves God with all his being, his intelligence and strength, he is truly entering the point of divine power. When the love for God is carried another step farther to enfold the race of man in its embrace, it contains the substance of all good in its everlasting embodiment and unites with celestial powers. In this love there is the power to heal, to bless, and to redeem. All the darkness will be conquered as Christ's light is thus released from within. The singing vibration of praise and thanksgiving and love is the light of Christ, and it is rayed out in flowing glory. Within the perfect love is also contained the ineffable powers of the Almighty, as praise and gratitude find their own avenues of expression in singing melody. This is the great new song that will wing its way into the very throne of God. This is the song of the righteous, which none can learn except those who live the higher laws. It is the living of the laws that produces righteousness and all the fulfilling powers thereof. As one takes upon himself the glorifying vibrations of the Christ light, he actually becomes a light, for it becomes established within him, and all evils melt before and are consumed. It is as simple and easy as that. Develop that dynamic inner song of joyous praise, love, and gratitude. Let it become the rhythm of your soul, the pulse beat of your existence, for in it no discordant, negative thought or feeling can either enter or go out from you. When these three intensified, glorious Christ vibrations are expressed within your own soul, you will hold the very keys of eternity in your hands. With these perfected vibration of his light, it will not be necessary to linger or to look back at the evils, for they will be dissolved and their effects forever healed. I invite you to come with me, step out upon the vibrations of pure light, and view the breathtaking wonders of eternity. Rend the veil of darkness, which is only the darkness of your own unbelief and its accompanying evils, and step across the dark abyss into celestial realms. On the higher plane there are no discord, no hate, no negatives, no evil or darkness, no error or mistake, for these things are overcome. As you step across into the higher vibrations of glorified living life, you will help to lift the whole world with you. Every gift and power Christ held in his hands while in the flesh, he left behind for man to use. He marked the path, revealed the laws, and showed the way. Then, to leave no gift or power unshared, he gave his light to abide in every man who cometh into the world. He also left his peace behind for all who would only desire and accept it. In seeking for that inner peace, which peace is beyond thought, because it is contained in the feeling, man will discover the great light and its unspeakable, ineffable power of fulfilling glory. He left the record of all that he was and is, and what man can become. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. He is with every individual who has ever come into the world, and when man no longer rejects the light of Christ, his redemption will be fulfilled, and his vibrations and powers of darkness will be released and dissolved. His powers are but awaiting man's acceptance of them. This is the reason those who reject the light of Christ are under condemnation. Instead of sending out the glorified light of living rays and infinite power, those rays are reversed. Their dingy, evil counterparts of negative decadence are being slowly turned inward with devastating effects. The individual is being attacked and bombarded with every evil thought and emotion and trait he creates, and those disintegrating vibrations begin their work of destruction within his own being. From this reverse condition comes illness, old age, senility, and death. The laws are exact and unfailing. Only in the light of Christ is contained the power of man's redemption and exaltation.